Not hearing anything.
You guys can't hear anything? Are they open?
To laugh, to win, and to live the thrill of the action.
Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. What the hell's going on out here?
No idea what's going on, but I am excited.
Every pick, every play, every game-changing moment.
Unbelievable!
This is You Better You Bet, brought to you by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
And it is a great day to be alive here on Westwood One Sports. Chris Mack in for Nick Kostos today here on You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM. Make it legendary. We are inside the Westwood One Sports app. We are inside the Odyssey app, AUDACY. We are live across North America on Sirius XM Channel 375 with you for the next 3 hours. We keep waiting for some sort of lull to come around, right? Like the dog days of summer. Oh, there's not a lot going on. No, it does not happen. And it will not continue because NBA offseason rumors are heating up. There is a big one, a big nostalgia play possibly being made by one team that we're going to get into today. We will talk, as I've committed, to power ranking position groups around the NFL for the next week and a half or so while I'm filling in for Nick. We will power rank the best secondaries in the NFL a little bit later in the show. I am low-key loving what one NBA team is doing to sort of vault themselves from, we're a play-in team maybe, to, no, we're a playoff team. And they've been on the grind the last week or so, making moves. World Cup continues. 3 round of 32 knockout matches happening today. Of course, we know the U.S. takes on Bosnia on Wednesday, and somebody thinks the ceiling is the roof. No, somebody thinks the ceiling is higher than ever for this team, and it's an opinion you're going to want to hear, and I think we should all take heed of when we consider our expectations for the U.S. men's national team in the World Cup. One guy doesn't know when to shut up and stop talking. We may have a team in trouble. At least I'm going to encourage their fans to believe that they're in trouble just long enough that I can then pull them back from the emotional brink. And we've got a legend on the show today. Linda Cohn, former Sports Center anchor, just recently retired, is going to join us at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific. You're always welcome to get in on the conversation as well. YouTube.com/@TheKostos, TheKostos. Hit up the chat. Let me know what you're thinking about after what hopefully was a good weekend for you, and hopefully a short week this week as you look ahead to the 4th of July holiday. You can also always pick up the phone, 310-840-4910. 310-840-4910. That's assuming you know where your phone is, unlike our executive producer, Bill Zimmerman, who has lost his. No, he found it. It just notified us in the chat. Bill has found his phone again. Congratulations. The 40s are hitting us hard, Bill. All right, let's get to the 5 biggest stories of the day right off the top as we do here on You Better You Bet when I get a chance to fill in for Nick. We call it the High Five.
Five.
Charlotte plays with great ball movement, usually.
Go figure. Well, Bridges with a logo land jump.
Ian Eagle and Stan Van Gundy on Prime during that 8-seed play-in game back in the spring between the Hornets and the Magic. The Magic boat raced the Hornets in that game. But that was a Miles Bridges deep 3 in the second half of that play-in loss to Orlando. Miles Bridges no longer a Charlotte Hornet. And the Hornets are on their grind this offseason, trying to make moves. And I'm here for it. I'll be honest, they may be my darling of the early offseason. I am here for Charlotte taking that step because in the wake of the LaMelo Ball deal last week, the Naz Reid edition, perfect, chef's kiss, and then you've got too much at power forward, so you make your move, Naz Reid in, Miles Bridges out, and you add another shooter in the backcourt with Grayson Allen. Now, Allen's a depth piece. Royce O'Neal, a depth piece. But you acquire more draft picks. Charlotte is in the business of acquiring assets, young and future assets. And I'm here for it. I said it last week after the LaMelo Ball deal. I am here for Kobe White, Con Knipple, and Brandon Miller sharing the ball in crunch time. I am here for Naz Reid helping Hans Steinbach protect the rim. I know, none of these names are traditionally names that you go, oh, that's exciting. But the Charlotte Hornets, and there's more coming. I'm just going to trust that there's more on the way. The Charlotte Hornets feel like a great candidate to be one of those teams that doesn't make a huge, massive leap. But the Hornets going from back end of the play-in to maybe a 6 seed? Would that be too big a leap to expect in an Eastern Conference with a massive, mushy middle? I don't think so. I think it should be expected. The Hornets were one of the best teams in the NBA down the stretch last year. And yes, they moved on from LaMelo. But they've still got playmakers in the backcourt. They add defense in the front court. And they keep adding future assets, which means they can spin around and make some more moves this offseason, or wait, see how it goes, and when the deadline hits next year, they're ready to add and fully complete the leap from maybe a play-in to, all of a sudden, you're in contention for a 6, maybe even a 5 in an Eastern Conference where we're talking about the same old usual suspects. We're talking about Cleveland and Toronto and Orlando. Charlotte could be one of those teams that makes that little bit of a jump. And I like what they're doing so far. Next.
4.
Line to right, nobody home. The Red Sox somehow find a way against the Yankees.
Jarren Duran's walk-off single in the 10th last night as the Red Sox complete a 4-game sweep of the Yankees at Fenway. Jason Benetti on the call on NBC and Peacock. Let's address that first of all. Yankees fans getting all butthurt that NBC stayed with golf so we could see Scotty Scheffler force a playoff that I think is just about underway. And shoving Red Sox Yankees, at least the start of the game, off onto Peacock. I love riding the emotional roller coaster with Yankees fans. I'm not a Yankees fan myself, but one of the more entertaining parts of my summer every year is hearing from my Yankee fan friends in New York who inevitably hit the panic button at some point in, say, the late June through early August window. Something happens. Aaron Judge goes through a slump, or in this case, Aaron Judge gets hurt, or whatever. There's something every year, and Yankee fans are the biggest thrill ride connoisseurs in sports fandom. They want to ride the roller coaster, baby, and especially the ones that are Knicks and Yankees fans, and they're coming down off the high of the Knicks title 2 weeks ago and the parade and all of that, and now they turn around, and before you know it, the Yankees have lost, 7 of their last 9, a 4-game sweep at the hand of the lowly Red Sox at Fenway, and all of a sudden they find themselves looking up at the Rays in the AL East standings. I'll give you reason to believe in about 15 minutes here on Westwood One Sports. I will give you reason to believe that the Yankees may be in trouble, and then I will pull you back from the brink, and I will give you reason to believe that everything is fine. That coming up in about 15 minutes. Next.
3.
I was like, oh, this is real. Like, I'm actually playing again. And so for here, it was more like, okay, I've been doing this for a couple of weeks. And so it was kind of like riding a bike, and I didn't feel a ton of stuff yet. Obviously, when I play, I might have a lot of things come up. But yeah.
Serena Williams back at Wimbledon playing singles for the first time in 4 years. Her first match will be tomorrow. And this is, look, the greatest women's tennis player of all time. I don't know if that can be disputed. Different eras, Steffi Graf and Martina Navratilova played at a different time. You go all the way back to the pre-Open era and pull names out of a hat that played with wooden rackets strung with God knows what. When you stack them all up together, this is the best women's tennis player of all time. And she's coming back to take another run at it at the age of 44. This, if Serena were to go on a run at Wimbledon over the next 2 weeks, would eclipse Brady winning a title in Tampa. It would. For comeback stories, for people who it felt like left near the top of their game, coming back and showing you just why they always were the best in the world. I know it's not apples to apples with Brady because he didn't retire, and I get it. But Serena at Wimbledon gives you plenty of reason to watch to see if the greatness is still in there and if she can find it through at least a couple of rounds at Wimbledon over the next couple of weeks. Next.
2.
It is the best team USA ever had.
I think so.
It is. You look where the players play.
Yeah.
Look, the boys. You have a striker who plays in France, who played in England, blah, blah, blah. You have a winger who plays everywhere. With Pulisic, you have a really, the last line plays or played in the Premier League. Midfield plays or played in the Premier League or in Italy. You never had a team like that.
Jurgen Klopp on ESPN FC the other day talking to Shaka Hislop about this being the best U.S. men's national team ever. Ever. Okay, so in all seriousness, if this is the best U.S. men's national team ever, and Jurgen Klopp would know better than I would, if this is the best U.S. men's national team ever, why shouldn't we raise our expectations to expect the best result ever? We had Eric Winalda on here a couple weeks ago, and when I asked him what the ceiling was for the U.S. men's national team, this is before the bracket was set. We were still early in group play. We were wondering when Pulisic would be back on the pitch, all of that. Eric Winalda, who also would know a whole hell of a lot better than I would, said semis for their ceiling, for how far they can go. Why isn't that the expectation? I know the group stage was what it was, and we had fun with it, and the Turkey match didn't mean anything, but it was good to see Pulisic out there. If the U.S. men's national team is really the best they've ever had, then getting to the quarterfinals and losing a possible quarterfinal matchup to Portugal or Spain, I hesitate to say it's not good enough, but it's not good enough. I mean, it's fine. If you want to kind of continue the status quo, I know it would tie the best result they've had in modern history to get to the quarterfinals. But a win over Spain or Portugal, a heavyweight like that in the quarters, and again, I'm projecting out through the first 2 rounds already. I'm assuming a win over Bosnia Wednesday. I'm assuming a win over most likely Belgium after that, maybe Senegal. Either way, if they were to get to the quarterfinals and beat Spain or Portugal, that would be the kind of heavyweight win that proves that they actually are the best U.S. men's national team ever and actually deserve all of the adulation we're heaping upon them. Maybe it's setting expectations way too high in some people's opinion. But I think if you're going to be the best ever, let's set the bar high and let's actually produce a best ever result. We'll talk more about that a little bit later in the show. But number one today.
One.
I'm going to set a screen for you. He made the play. I reacted, whatever. The second one, Batum, he hesitated for a half a second.
Half a second, yep.
And I got him.
Got a quick pump, yep.
And then the third one that was great basketball.
That's Steph Curry and LeBron James over a year ago, I think. They were on Steve Nash's podcast, Mind the Game. And they were reminiscing, as old guys like to do. You put them in a couple chairs, they lean back, and they say, you remember when? There was a lot of remember when as they were talking about the 2024 Olympic run and the gold medal game against France and some of the looks they set up for each other in that game. In particular, LeBron setting up Steph, who was the star of that gold medal win over France. You could hear the Mutual Admiration Society calling their meeting to order as LeBron and Steph sat there and reminisced about that gold medal win over France. And apparently, we might get a taste of that again. There are rumors out there that the Warriors are attempting to trade for Anthony Davis and sign LeBron James. It would include trading Jimmy Butler out to Washington while he recovers from that ACL, and would include sending some draft capital out as well. But this is the supernova, the exploding star before it dies off, getting as big and massive as it can. This is the Warriors' nostalgia play. LeBron, AD, Steph, and Draymond together in Golden State. And look, I've said it to you guys before. I will repeat it. I don't care what waning championship core it is, in what sport it is. I am here for the nostalgia. Give it to me. This would be a massive babyface turn for LeBron James. It would. You mean to tell me that the average fan on a Thursday night in February, late February, early March, isn't going to check in on how Steph Curry and LeBron James are doing with the Warriors, sprinkling some AD when he's available, Draymond when he's not suspended or taking techs. And all they got to do is get to the playoffs healthy. That's all they have to do. Get to the playoffs healthy. And they would become a rooting fan favorite in the NBA playoffs. They would. Nostalgia, man. It always wins out. And imagine if you had the nostalgia, right? You had LeBron and Steph on the same team. Everybody knowing, yeah, they probably don't have a shot to win anything, but it'll be entertaining. And imagine that squad with Draymond Green and Anthony Davis getting into the playoffs and then, say, meeting, I don't know, for example, a Victor Wembanyama-led Spurs team in the first round. Who do you think most of America is going to root for then? Seriously, they're gonna root for the Bay Area Unks to put together one last run right off into the sunset, even if it doesn't end in a title. Stick a pin in the balloon of that burgeoning San Antonio dynasty that we all assume is on its way. Give it to me. Give me the Golden State nostalgia play. We'll get into that in a little bit more detail at the top of the hour here on Westwood One Sports. It is Chris Mack in for Nick Kostos today here on You Better You Bet. Coming up in about an hour, I will power rank. We did wide receivers and tight ends last week. I will power rank the best secondary groups in the NFL. Linda Cohn joins us at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. We have got a million things going on, including the breaking news from Shams Charania that James Harden is in fact declining his $42 million option, and he and the Cavs are working on a multi-year extension. So say goodbye to maybe the LeBron return to Cleveland if you were holding out hope for that. Let's do it. Let's make the Golden State thing happen. But coming up next, I will take fans of one team up to the edge, and then I will pull you back from the emotional canyon you're about to fall into and tell you everything's going to be all right. That's next on Westwood One Sports.
Welcome back to You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Top of the hour. Nostalgia, baby. Give it to me. Just let it wash over me. That's coming up at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific here on Westwood One Sports. Chris Mack in for Nick Kostos here on You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM. This segment sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com. I will power rank for you the best secondaries around the NFL coming up 1 hour from now. Why? Because it's that time of year between mini camps and training camps where, I'll be honest, we're fishing for NFL content. And one of the biggest off-season stories in this otherwise slow NFL window is the Terrion Arnold arrest. So after talking wide receivers and tight ends last week, towards the end of the week, and power ranking those position groups, we're going to pivot to secondaries today. That coming up around 10:20 Eastern, 7:20 Pacific. Linda Cohn is going to join us later today. I cannot wait for this conversation. 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. Former Sports Center great who has hung up the teleprompter. I don't know. What do you call it? Hung up the script. But I can't wait to just talk to her about being one of the all-time Sports Center greats. And also, I know Linda will have thoughts on everything that went down during the NHL draft weekend, some of the big trades that were made. Pavel Dorofeyev to the Rangers from the Golden Knights, everything else. I'm sure she's got thoughts on the Kachuk brothers playing together in Florida. That's all coming up at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. And before 10, somebody just doesn't know when to shut up. But this is the part where I take Yankee fans on a ride. Not that I need to take you on a ride. You are more than willing to take yourselves on this ride every stinking summer. You do it. You do. You take yourselves on this ride. I know this because Sean Marash of WFAN in New York, I consider him a good friend, does this to himself every summer. And I get to just watch it play out in text message form. And it is the annual Yankee fan rite of summer, where at some point between late June and early to mid-August, you proclaim that the sky is falling. Now, I understand, Yankee fans, if you kind of feel that way after a 4-game sweep at the hand of the Red Sox. A very bad Red Sox team. You got 4-game sweep at Fenway. Had to hear that damn Dirty Water song 4 times. And now you've lost 7 of your last 9, Yankee fans. Looking up at Tampa in the AL East standings. 12-12 since the Aaron Judge injury. And in that time, in the month of June, the Yankees are 19th in baseball in runs scored and 22nd in OPS. After being near the top of the league in both numbers through the first 2 months of the season. At the end of May, the Yankees were 4th in runs scored and 2nd in OPS. Garrett Cole not looking like Garrett Cole the last couple of starts, looking like a guy coming back off of Tommy John. Man, you guys might be in trouble. Who are we kidding? This is the part where I pull you back from the emotional morass you were about to fall into. Who are we kidding? The American League is a dumpster fire. And there are really only 2, maybe 3 or 4 good teams in the American League. And there are 2 that are very good. The Yankees and the Rays. That's it. That's the list. One of them is going to win the division. The other one will be the top wild card. Whoever that top wild card is, assuming they get through whoever their wild card opponent is, they'll face the other in the ALDS. The Yankees and Rays are on a collision course for a meeting in early October in the ALDS. That's when all of this will matter. Right now, I know it feels like a lot, Yankee fans. I know you're riding the emotional roller coaster. I get it. It's hard. But I believe in you. I believe that you can stay grounded and not turn into Jerome from the Bronx and lose your mind every time the Yankees go on a little bit of a skid. And that's all this has been. I know a 4-game sweep at the hands of the Red Sox, as bad as they are, it stings. It's a little blow to the psyche when it felt like everything was going right 4 weeks ago. And 12-12, that's not good enough for Yankee fans. I get it. I understand. You're fretting. You're wringing your hands. Man, this is where it all collapses. I told you, Tony. No, you're going to be okay because the Yankees and the American League are making the playoffs. Now, would you much rather win the division, get the bye, and sit around and wait for the Rays in the ALDS? Most likely the Rays in the ALDS? Sure, I get that. But we can do hard things, Yankee fans. We can. I'm not even one of you, and I know you can do hard things. I know you can stop riding the emotional roller coaster. I believe in you. So take a deep breath, let it out, and just, if you want to panic, wait for October. Now's not the time. Aaron Judge will be back. Garrett Cole will be better than he has been the last couple of starts, more often than not, although that is going to be a bumpy road coming back from the TJ surgery. And the Yankees will be in the playoffs. So, center yourself. Go to the shore for a long weekend. Relax. It's going to be okay. How about some of the other things that happened in baseball over the weekend? You had Jacob Mizorowski hitting 105.5 on the radar gun against Pete Crow Armstrong on Friday night. It's just ludicrous how hard this guy is throwing the ball. It goes down in the StatCast era as being tied for the third fastest pitch by anybody, behind only a couple of pitches from Aroldis Chapman, who's hit 105 on the gun. But Aroldis Chapman comes in and fires it up for an inning. Jacob Mizorowski is doing this for 6 and 7 innings. On his first pitch of the game, he's at 103, ramps it up to 104, and then on the third pitch, we'll round and say he hits 106. 105.5, technically. And on his last pitch of the game, he's still hitting 102. The guy's an absolute physical marvel. Not just that he's able to hit these speeds, but that he's able to do it over and over and over again throughout the course of a 6, 7, sometimes 8 inning outing. The guy's your Cy Young winner right now, unless something strange happens. And he's a big reason, I believe, to pivot over to the National League side of things right now. I believe in the Brewers. Arguably the best team in baseball over the last 2 months. If they add one more starting arm, and I'm not going to say it has to be Tarek Skubal, but if they add one more starting arm, they take care of the Dodgers in the postseason. Yeah. Write that down. June 29th, Chris Mack on Westwood One Sports said, if the Brewers add just one more starting arm, they beat the Dodgers this fall. And Mizorowski's the biggest part of it. You also have Kyle Schwarber. I swear, as soon as those words were coming out of my mouth, Kenny Arbordop literally typed, I'm looking at the Phillies in the chat at the same time I was saying those words. You have Kyle Schwarber hitting his 30th last night, now on pace for 60, which, oh, by the way, hasn't happened in the National League by someone who may or may not have been aided by performance enhancers since, let me run the math, ever. The only guys we've had hit 60 in the National League were Sosa, McGuire, and Bonds between the years of 98 and 2001. We all know what's going on. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Save baseball, please. Thank you, guys. Cream, clear. Pale Sammy Sosa not remembering how to speak English in front of Congress. We all remember. And the most impressive thing of these Schwar bombs is that they are, like, Kyle Schwarber doesn't pop one up and it gets caught in the breeze and floats out at like 370 feet down the right field line. Kyle Schwarber hits absolute moonshots. Like, you can't go to Citizens Bank Park and sit in the second deck in right field and not be paying attention. Like, dumb people sitting down the first and third base lines, not paying attention and looking at their cell phone were the reason Major League Baseball eventually went, okay, yeah, we should probably put up the netting. Let's stop watching people wear liners in the face. You might have to put up a giant net over the second deck in right field at Citizens Bank Park. That's what Kyle Schwarber is doing to baseballs. So I would have an eye on the Phillies too. And I want to say it was it 3 or 4 weeks ago? Maybe even a little longer than that. But it was a while back now. I remember the Phillies started to turn things around. It was after the Rob Thompson firing. They started to turn things around. And I remember saying, keep an eye on the Phillies. There's no way they're catching the Braves, but keep an eye on the Phillies. Well, look who's 3 games back of Atlanta now, as the Braves have lost 7 out of their last 10. Phillies Brewers would be a hell of an NLCS. And I don't just say that as someone who despises the Dodgers for all the money they spend and all the talent on the roster. I can still appreciate how good they are. But Phillies Brewers would be fun. Jacob Mizorowski against Kyle Schwarber. Give it to me, baby. Give it to me. Coming up at the top of the hour, I also like nostalgia. I also get that creepy voice where I say, give it to me, baby. When I start to let the nostalgia wash over me, and that's what they want to try in the Bay Area. I'll fill you in on exactly what is going on, the rumors that are out there at the top of the hour. But coming up next, somebody just doesn't know when to stop running their mouth. And if things could possibly get worse, they're somehow getting worse. And I don't know if they ever get better for this person. That's next on Westwood One Sports. Perfect.
You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Linda Cohn joins us at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific here on Westwood One Sports. Cannot wait to talk to her. Former Sports Center great, riding off into the sunset. Coming up in 15 minutes, the nostalgia play in the Bay Area. Oh, I'm here for it. And I have to think, to put it in wrestling terms, for those of you that are professional wrestling fans, it would be a massive babyface turn if this were to go down the way it's being talked about. That's at the top of the hour. Of course, we got the World Cup going on. You've got some people talking about this being the best U.S. men's national team ever. I'll let you hear it for yourself right around 11:30 Eastern. So why shouldn't we raise the expectations then? It is time for the world's top stars to go head-to-head on the pitch, which means you can grab today's Odds Boost token inside the BetMGM app and join the excitement and make your World's Game moment. Activate your token for any World's Game bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if that bet wins. Download it, find it inside the BetMGM app today, and make it legendary. Please gamble responsibly. 3 matches today. You've got Brazil, Japan getting started at 1 Eastern, Germany, Paraguay at 4:30 Eastern, and Netherlands, Morocco at 9 Eastern. The 3 round of 32 knockout matches happening today in the World Cup. So I mentioned a couple minutes ago, there is one guy that just cannot stop talking. Sometimes it's Instagram. Sometimes it's TikTok. Sometimes it's YouTube. But he just won't stop talking, and he keeps digging himself deeper, and I don't know if he's ever gonna get out. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our daily check-in on Brandon Ayuk. This happened over the weekend.
General manager gonna pull up to my house. Oh, weirdo. Like, bro, don't pull up to my house uninvited, boy. Shit, it ain't safe. Little But I knew his ass was gonna do it. So I'm looking at my camera, my front door camera. I see a big old white boy, white man, former NFL safety. And I'm like, oh, hell no. And I know my wife is about to be back home soon. So I had to call my wife and say, it's a big ass white man at the house. I don't know what he doing over there. He was not invited. Creepy. So if you on your way home, probably just spin the block a few times, because I don't know what bro on. Like, weird. The same general manager that tried to run me down and come apologize for his head coach, because his head coach got a temperament of a toddler.
So things are going well in Brandon Ayuk's world this weekend. Oh my God. That's directly from him on YouTube. At what point does anyone, pull Brandon aside and say, bro, you are just kissing goodbye to any possibility of a future NFL career? I don't know the dynamics of Brandon Ayuk's relationship with that big old white boy, John Lynch. I don't know what the dynamics were of his relationship with Kyle Shanahan. But I do know that the optics of what is playing out every day on social media are absolutely burying any opportunity for Brandon Ayuk to get out of the situation he is in. Nobody in the world is calling up calling up John Lynch and saying, is Brandon Ayuk available? It's not happening. And so he will continue to sit there and rot on the restricted list. And if John Lynch does that, then I got no problem with it. Because if you're not going to get something, then you're sure as hell also not going to just release him and let him go wherever he wants. Because that's been the play the whole time by Brandon Ayuk. The play the whole time has been do whatever I can to get released, to the point where he's now calling out the GM on YouTube for coming to his house. What do you think? Did John Lynch, did he bring, anything? Did he bring a coffee? Did he bring a fruit basket of some sort? You roll up on someone's house unintroduced or unexpectedly. Feel like you should bring something. A Jell-O mold. Anything. Really. Anything. A nice rosé. But if you're Brandon Ayuk, you can't keep playing this out in the public eye the way you have. Nothing's getting you what you want at this point. Short of pulling back on the reins a little bit here and not acting out of pocket with the guy who holds your future still in the palm of his hand. And that's the thing. John Lynch still holds your future in the palm of his hand, Brandon. He can let you sit there and rot on the restricted list if he wants to. And you won't get to run off to D.C. with your BFF, Jaden. Has anyone asked Jaden Daniels what he thinks of all this, by the way? And if you're the Commanders, why on earth would you call up Brandon Ayuk, a guy who notoriously has been difficult to get a hold of anyway in the past? Why would you call up Brandon Ayuk and invite this head case into the room? There's other wide receiver options out there. Hell, if I want a veteran wide receiver head case, I'll call up Stephon Diggs. Or if I actually want another legitimate receiving option available, I'll call up the Patriots about Kayshon Boutte. But I'm not calling Brandon Ayuk. Not after the way he's acted during this whole thing. Somebody, I'm begging, well, no, I was going to say I'm begging somebody to pull Brandon Ayuk aside and tell him to stop this, but I'm going to be totally honest. Keep it coming, Brandon. Give us another video today, please. And another one the day after that, and another one the day after that, and another one the day after that. Please. Give me the entertainment value. Come on, Brandon. To be totally honest, I don't care if you go play football again. So, entertain me. But clearly what you've been doing is not working, so it's probably time to stop trying what you've been trying. And instead, see if you can pull back on the reins. Try to mend some fences just long enough that somebody else may give up a conditional 7th round pick for you, and you'll actually get to go somewhere and play football again. Because it's not happening in San Francisco, and John Lynch, especially after that, has no reason to help you find a new job. None. Why would he? Big old white boy. What did he think was going to happen if his wife pulled up into the driveway while John Lynch was standing there? Why did she have to circle the block? Stop talking, Brandon. Stop talking. That's not even the craziest thing going on in the Bay Area right now. No. The craziest thing may be a rumor that materialized overnight that would be the wildest face turn in NBA history, I think. I'll tell you exactly what we're talking about. See if you think the same. That's next, right here on You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports.
This is Westwood One Sports.
Are you ready? It's time to laugh, to win, and to live the thrill of the action.
Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. What the hell's going on out here?
No idea what's going on, but I am excited.
Every pick, every play, every game-changing moment. This is You Better You Bet, brought to you by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
You've heard me say it before. I will say it again. I am a sucker for nostalgia, and this would be a giant nostalgia play, even if they want to tell you that it's actually because they think they can compete for a title. That coming up in just a moment here on Westwood One Sports. Chris Mack in for Nick Kostos today here on You Better You Bet. You can always watch the show on YouTube, youtube.com/@thekostos. At TheKostos. I don't know why I felt the need to write that out for those of you watching on camera, but I did. Also inside the Westwood One Sports app and the Odyssey app, AUDACY, live across North America on Sirius XM channel 375. Coming up in 20 minutes, we power rank the best secondaries in the NFL going into the 2026 season. This is not, much like my power rankings of the best tight end groups on Friday, a blatant play for me to get to mention my Pittsburgh Steelers. Yep, I'm openly admitting I'm not going to have the Steelers in the top 5 secondaries. We'll explain the whole list and the logic, and you can tell me where I'm wrong and where I'm right. Coming up in about 20 minutes. 1 hour from now, Linda Cohn is going to join us. I cannot wait to talk to Linda, not just about being one of the legends of sports centers, finally hanging it up, and all the stories she has from her days there. For those that have not heard the story before about one of her early attempts at a catchphrase, because back in the day, it was Dan Patrick, Keith Olbermann, Stuart Scott, Rich Eisen. Everybody had a couple funny lines and catchphrases in there. And she tried one once and immediately got called into the principal's office on it. If you haven't heard the story, you got to hear it. That's coming up 1 hour from now with Linda Cohn. But I'm here for the nostalgia, my friends. I am here for LeBron James going to Golden State. You say, well, wait, that's not really nostalgia, Chris. LeBron's never played in Golden State. But no, putting LeBron together with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and rolling AD into the mix, yup, that's what I'm here for. And that is the overnight report from Kevin O'Connor at Yahoo Sports, that the Warriors want LeBron and Anthony Davis, that they're trying to put together a trade with Washington for Davis. Would probably have to involve Jimmy Butler to get his contract out the door and some draft picks, obviously. But they want to trade for Anthony Davis in an effort to lure LeBron to the Bay Area so that those four can ride off into the sunset. Play for Steve Kerr, take one more run at a title. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it'd be a title run. I think more than likely what happens is somebody gets hurt at some point. Not wishing that on anyone. Somebody gets hurt at some point. Early exit in the playoffs, probably in the first round. But let's be honest. This would be the babyface turn of all babyface turns. I don't think there's an NBA fan out there right now who is sitting there thinking to themselves, ooh, can't wait to see LeBron run it back again with the Lakers. I mean, maybe there's a few out there, but nobody's pining for that. I know there were a fair number of people who had suggested, well, if you're going to do the retirement tour thing, why not do it from your de facto hometown in Cleveland? And I guess you could have found a way to make that work. Sounds like James Harden is on the brink of signing an extension, though, as he opted out of his remaining year on his deal this morning. And the reports from Shams Charania at ESPN are that they're working on piecing together that extension, the Cavs and Harden, which, by the way, good luck with that. But, and how about this? Another Shams bomb, literally seconds ago. Draymond Green declining his $27.7 million player option to become a free agent. Sources telling Shams and ESPN the move will give the Warriors flexibility to pursue LeBron James in free agency and Anthony Davis via trade to form a Big Four. This is happening, people. This is the Steve Carell in The Office meme. Oh my God, it's happening. This is happening. And I don't care how ill-advised it feels at this point. Because, as I was saying, this would be the baby face turn of all baby face turns. LeBron goes and plays with Steph, which just the Steph rub alone will get people cheering for him. But we've got a chance to see the Bay Area Unks go for a ride and see how far they can get, like Thelma and Louise driving the car off the cliff. Let's all hold hands and just ride off into the sunset together, boys. And I will add, every single one of you, myself included, will be rooting for it to last just one more day, just one more game, one more round. Come on, guys. What was that? What was that movie? I never watched it because it looked terrible. Someone's going to end up coming out of the woodwork and telling me I'm wrong for bagging on it here. It was the old guys on the motorcycles. It was Tim Allen, John Travolta, Martin Lawrence, Wild Hogs. This is the Wild Hogs of basketball. The old dudes getting together to ride off into the sunset. And for those of you doubting that this group would be a bunch of baby faces, even with Draymond in the fold, I'm here to tell you, let's play it out, okay? Let's go all the way down the line here. And let's say the four of them get together. LeBron, AD, Steph, and Draymond in Golden State. And look, there's going to be a lot of load management here. So I don't know how often we get to see the four of them together on the floor during the regular season, but often enough that let's say they end up in the 7 spot and they win a play-in game and they're the 7 seed, okay? Ben Gay in the Bay. Thank you, Bill. Let's say they end up in the 7 spot. And they get a first-round series. Let's just say the Spurs are the 2nd seed again in the West, okay? Whatever the seeds are, let's say I almost said Lakers. Let's say the Warriors meet the Spurs in the playoffs, probably in the first round. Are you telling me that most of America, most of the world outside of France, isn't going to root for the Bay Area Unks to put a pin in the balloon of that burgeoning San Antonio dynasty? And after the way people reacted to Wemby in these playoffs, particularly in the finals against the Knicks, he's got a chance to really take over the mantle of top heel in the NBA. And yeah, I realize I'm writing this out now like it's a wrestling script, but bear with me. Wemby and the Spurs empire trying to take the next step to their first NBA title presumably of many. And they run up against the aging Golden State Warriors, Steph, Draymond, LeBron, and AD. Maybe it's my age, okay? I'm in my mid-40s. So maybe those of you younger NBA fans out there would hate this and wouldn't feel the same way. But I'm here to tell you that a lot of us around my age, we would feel this way. We would want to see Steph and LeBron and Draymond and even AD, the Bay Area Unks, take it to the Spurs. They would be the rooting favorite. And it sounds like the wheels are in motion. Like, the fact that Draymond is declining his option so that they can presumably work out a deal with more cap space available to bring in Anthony Davis, and then you would pursue LeBron James. LeBron's got to be talking to them about this, right? Like, this stuff is bubbling to the surface, not just because we all started making it up. Hey, maybe a month ago, this was something we were all just kicking around and having a little bit of fun with. But now the ball is rolling downhill, and it's rolling straight towards the idea of LeBron James to Golden State. I mean, what is the realistic ceiling for that? Honestly. I don't think it's a title. I don't even know if it's a conference finals. But wouldn't you be curious to see what would happen if all four of them were healthy going into the playoffs? Wouldn't you want to see what happens if they go up against one of those young up-and-coming teams in the West? San Antonio or OKC? I would. Look, it might flame out spectacularly. It might be an exploding star, a supernova that's just about ready to collapse in on itself. But I'd also kind of want to see, I'd be here to see the story of how it all plays out. Like, I'm already envisioning the 30 for 30 or the Netflix documentary about this Golden State Warriors season, and it's June. Because I don't think there's much middle ground here. It goes one of two ways. It flames out spectacularly, and we end up having a great documentary after the fact about how Draymond hurled some insults at AD at one point in the middle of a game in January about him being soft. And LeBron had to try and step in, and then someone threw a punch, and before you knew it, someone else was hurt, and the whole thing fell apart. Like, that's the one end of the spectrum, the one extreme. And then at the other end of the spectrum is, oh my God, these guys may actually be putting something together. Again, the ceiling is not a championship, I don't think. They're deluding themselves if they really think that it is. But I think winning a series in the playoffs is well within reason, depending on the matchup. And again, if everybody's healthy. We still have no idea what some of these teams are going to look like, too. The offseason is just getting started. Kenny, I get the sense that you're very much not a fan of this idea. You just typed in the chat, instead of Last Dance, it'll be called The Last Laugh. You're not a fan of the old guys getting together.
I wouldn't say I'm not a fan of it, but I just I don't know. I feel like there's a lot going on right now. We already had Giannis go to the Heat, LaMelo to the Wolves, 2 big moves. And now we're talking about LeBron and AD to the Warriors. I've had enough of this NBA offseason already. We need to calm it down just a little bit.
Mix in a water, NBA offseason. We're drunk and we need to go home. But I'm here for it because the story alone would be worth it, regardless of how it ends. Of course, you're going to end up liking it if it happens. Everyone is. Coming up at the top of the hour, former SportsCenter anchor, ESPN great Linda Cohn will join us. I cannot wait to talk to Linda, not just about her SportsCenter stories from over the years, but I got to ask her what she made all the big draft or all the big moves happening, around the weekend of the NHL draft. Linda, a massive hockey fan. Coming up a little more than 1 hour from now, if it's the best U.S. men's national team ever, why shouldn't we be expecting the best result ever? I'll let you hear what one international football great had to say about this U.S. men's national team and just how good they are. That coming up right around 11:25 Eastern, 8:25 Pacific. But coming up next, we're going through day by day power ranking positional groups around the NFL. Why? Because it's that time of year when there's nothing happening in the NFL, and we want to get you ready for training camps opening in a few weeks, okay? We did receivers and tight ends last week. Today we do the best secondaries in the NFL. Power rankings next, right here on Westwood One Sports.
Welcome back to You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
I just did that thing where I didn't have my microphone on during the break, and I was saying all kinds of interesting things to my friends behind the scenes, and then realized my microphone wasn't on and they didn't hear any of it. So I'll say it on the air in just a little bit. Linda Cohn at the top of the hour. Cannot wait to catch up with her. Coming up in 20 minutes, a breaking story this morning in the basketball/sports betting world. It's really just another tentacle of the entire Terry Rozier, Jonte Porter, NBA insider information trading nonsense that's been playing out over, the last year and a half or so. That coming up in 20 minutes. But it's that time of year where if you're a football fan, you know what time of year it is? It's the time of year where you stop at a drugstore to pick up a prescription maybe. And while you're standing in line waiting for the pharmacist, you see that Athlon Sports magazine and you realize that it was all written 3 months ago. And you don't care. You stand there while you're waiting for the pharmacist and thumb through it anyway because you're that thirsty for football discussion. It's that time of year. It's that time of year where the Phil Steele college football preview mag shows up at the bookstore and you run in there looking for it like a little kid looking for Santa at the mall. You're thirsty for football. So we will quench that thirst in just 1 second here on Westwood One Sports. I will power rank the best secondaries going into the 2026 NFL season. If you missed it last week, that's why we have podcasts. We did the best wide receiver groups and the best tight end groups as well. Just search You Better You Bet wherever you get your podcasts. This segment sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com. So, with no further delay, no further ado, let me give those of you who are thirsty for NFL content that isn't just Brandon Ayuk standing in his driveway yelling at John Lynch, some NFL content. The best secondaries around the NFL. I'll power rank them from 5 down to 1. Let's start at number 5. They've got one of the top 5 cover corners in the league. Some would say the best. Top 5, I say. They added some veteran leadership at free safety. They've got a really strong number 2 corner, I think, as well. It's the New England Patriots at number 5. I know there's some negotiation going on about the contract extension and what it'll look like for Christian Gonzalez. Ultimately, the Patriots aren't going to let him get anywhere. Carlton Davis on the other side. Kevin Byard comes in this offseason as a free agent. Like I said, to give you some of that veteran leadership on the back end. Maybe he doesn't cover ground the same way he used to, but will be key to making sure everyone is in the right spot. Patriots have a very strong secondary. Probably the best part of their defense. Not probably. No probably about it. It's the best part of their defense. So I've got the Patriots at number 5 in our power rankings of the best secondaries. Number 4, I think some people are going to think this is a little low. I don't know. I have them at number 4 because they had a departure in the offseason that I think stings, but they've still got 2 really strong starting corners. They have a nickelback / strong safety who can do a little bit of everything, plays all over the field, and I really like them. The Seattle Seahawks at number 4. Losing Reek Woolen definitely stings. But you've still got Devin Witherspoon and Josh Jobe. And Witherspoon probably going to play even more on the outside this year with Woolen's departure to Philadelphia. A strong corner tandem. And I absolutely love. You're going to notice I have an absolute infatuation with safeties. Those of you that are watching the show on YouTube, youtube.com/@thekostos, you notice over my right shoulder every day. I'm going to point at it right now for those of you watching. Point the other way, Chris. It's in reverse, the image on the screen. There you go. You see that Troy Polamalu book right there? It is the only jersey the only NFL jersey I still own and occasionally wear. It's a Troy Polamalu jersey. So I have an unabiding man crush on all safeties. Nick Emenwari fits into that for me. I know he's not a true safety. Like I said, slot corner, plays in and around the box. Guys in the secondary that go around smacking people in the mouth, I like. Emenwari qualifies. So I got the Seahawks number 4. They're making predictions. They're making bets in the chat on what the top 3 are going to be. Oh, and there's disagreement in the chat. I'll fill you guys in on that and let you argue with each other after I'm done revealing my top 3. Number 3. I mean, they basically just went to Kansas City and took their corners. They've got a really strong safety tandem. Again, I've told you my infatuation with safeties. And I'm a big Quentin Lake fan as well. The LA Rams at number 3. Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson. I mentioned Quentin Lake. The Cams at safety, Kitchens and Curl. I'm curious to see, with 2 brand new corners, is there an adjustment period? I don't expect. I mean, it's corner. Put McDuffie and Watson out there and just let them run with guys in cover. I don't think we need to overthink this. And Chris Shula is a pretty good defensive coordinator. So I got the Rams at number 3. Number 2. This secondary returns entirely intact and has, I was going to say arguably, in my opinion, the best cover corner in the game. And again, a safety who loves to channel his inner Polamalu and run around and smack people in the mouth. The Denver Broncos. You got Pat Surtain. You got Hufanga. And there were no, I'll put it this way. The thing I like about the Broncos secondary is that as much as their success may have been a byproduct of their front 7 just doing ridiculous things, getting after quarterbacks, they're just steady. How many times did you look up at the Broncos secondary and go, oof, that was a rough one? There may have been moments here and there, but they're just steady. So you return that entire group intact with the best cover corner in the league in Pat Surtain. The Broncos are number 2 for me. Number 1, a big ad in free agency at safety. I don't, maybe, I was going to say maybe the best corner tandem. They're up there on the list. Strong nickel as well. The Houston Texans. Yeah. Stingley, Lassiter, Petrie, and you bring in Reed Blankenship as well. That's your number 1 secondary. And immediately, the moaning and the wailing and the complaining starts from Eagles fans. How could you do this? Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. Eagles get an honorable mention. They're not in the top 5. I'd also throw some honorable mentions just outside the list to the Ravens. I know you're going to go, what? The Ravens? They got 4 first-round picks in their secondary. I think as much as I've questioned the adjustment Jesse Minter is going to have to make to being a head coach rather than just a defensive coordinator, I think if there's one thing he does really well this year, it's helping that secondary get it back together. and generate a little bit more pressure up front. And the Ravens last year were much better. In other words, they were middle of the pack rather than terrible when they were actually able to generate pressure. So I'd have the Ravens as an honorable mention, the Eagles as an honorable mention, and I'd probably, this isn't a homer take, throw the Steelers in as an honorable mention as well. So there's your power ranking of the best secondaries in the NFL in 2026. Eagles fans can get mad, but you'll get over it. You're mad about everything anyway. If I lived in Philly, I'd be mad about everything too. Patriots 5, Seahawks 4, Rams 3, Broncos 2, Texans 1. Do we have any objections? Bill, I fear that I may have created an unobjectionable list for you.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to go to Kenny for the complaints here because that's my top 5. It's not the exact order I'd put them in. I think I might have the Rams over the Broncos, even with Surtain in there. To me, if you're going to put the Eagles in there, yeah, you can argue that put the Patriots out, but that top 4 is inarguable as far as I'm concerned.
Kenny, you're mad that a secondary containing Riley Moss is ranked second on this power rankings list, and that I omitted the great Philadelphia Eagles secondary that will have statues built of it someday on the steps of the Art Museum in Philadelphia. Is that your biggest beef with this?
Yeah, it definitely is. But my question for you, Chris, is can you find me a better corner trio than Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and Tariq Woolen in the NFL right now? Because if you can't, I don't know how you can't have them in the top 5. I mean, I get if you don't have them top 3. Like, personally, I have them top 3 because I think that's the best corner trio in the league. And yes, they have some questions at safety, but I really like Andrew Makuba, who's now going to get a chance to start after they lost Reed Blankenship. I think they deserve a spot in the top 5, but other than that, it's a pretty solid list.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from with the depth of the Eagles secondary. I don't know. Woolen is a nice add, and like I said, it's going to sting for the Seahawks to lose him, but I would have them just outside of my top 5. Strong corners, safety has some question marks, and this is a whole secondary, Kenny, and I explained my infatuation with safeties. So maybe my weight on safeties is too great here. Maybe we just weigh safeties differently here. Maybe that's the lesson. Because that's why I have the Steelers in the honorable mention category. Because I love the safeties. Like, I love Jaquan Brisker. I love Deshaun Elliott. Jalen Ramsey will probably play a good bit of center field. I like that group, and I like the fact that it sounds like they'll actually have things together communication-wise, which was an issue towards the end of the Tomlin era with that secondary. And then you got Joey Porter Jr., who hasn't given up a touchdown since 2024. Bring in Jamel Dean. You draft Dalen Everett. It's a strong secondary. But you got to have both levels. You got to have corner and safety, Kenny. So that's why I have the Eagles right outside the top 5. By all means, feel free to hit up the chat on YouTube or give us a call, 310-840-4910. We always listen to the objections if you have them with our power rankings. And tomorrow, we'll pick another position. We'll power rank. What should we do tomorrow? Maybe we'll do something nondescript like offensive lines. Sure, why not? We're not doing kickers, Tyler. We're not doing kickers. I knew someone, and someone did it in the YouTube chat, would chime in about the Bears. I knew it would happen. Would we give Bears top half of the league? Would we give them that? Bill, you're dialed in on the Bears more. Yeah. Bill, you're more dialed in. I mean, Kobe Bryant, that's nice. Dylan Thieneman, that's nice. It's kind of like a collection of football cards, though. It's a bunch of names that I recognize and like, but I don't know if it's coming together.
If the Bears secondary stays healthy this year, it could be top half in the league. Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon, if you get 15, 16, 17 games out of them, but there's no indication that that's going to happen this year. Kyler Gordon already missed OTAs with some sort of soft tissue injury. So things aren't going well in that department. The problem they have, and brought up in the chat, they don't have a second outside corner at all. It's Tyreek Stevenson, who got benched at the end of last year against a 4th-round pick in Malik Muhammad from Texas.
That's
not great.
That's a battle. I think that's a competition, maybe by default. So there are power rankings, the best secondaries around the league. Coming up at the top of the hour, Linda Cohn is going to join us. I can't wait to talk to her about some of her best Sports Center stories from the years at ESPN. But coming up next, there is going to be fallout from one story that is broken this morning and is just part of a very wide web of other stories very much like it. And the fallout, if you bet on sports at all, is going to come, I think, now sooner rather than later in what you're permitted to bet on. I'll tell you what the story is, explain all of it to you, and what I think the ramifications are. Plus, there's one team that I low-key love what they've done early in the NBA offseason. That's all next here on Westwood One Sports.
Welcome back to You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
You know, it's funny that Laura plays a little Sublime coming back here, because I actually got a text from a friend on a group chat today that was a bracket of the best bands of the 90s. And I don't think I see Sublime anywhere on it. No. Nowhere on it. It had a diabolical matchup in the first round between Nirvana and Creed, which I think is just terrible work by the committee. And then in one bracket, it also had Radiohead up against Matchbox 20 in the first round. Bill, if you can't acknowledge that Creed has found some new ironic life at this point, then I think maybe we have to stop being friends. Can you take me higher? Come on. That Thanksgiving performance in Dallas, the one, what was it, 99?
Oh, Chris. Creed's fine. Like
there are some legit bangers in the Creed catalog. Okay,
Nirvana was the voice of a generation.
It's still it's bad work by the committee putting Nirvana and Creed in a first round matchup. You got to at least
how many bands are in this bracket?
Hold on, let me see here.
Because Nirvana's a top seed.
5, 6, 7. It's a 32 band bracket. No, Nirvana's a top seed. I'll give you that.
Nirvana would host a region. Yeah.
Nirvana, Pearl Jam. They've got Radiohead as a top seed here, which I'm sorry, I can't get behind. I know Radiohead fans are massive Radiohead fans, and every time you mock them, they tell you you're stupid because you can't appreciate it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I just don't get it.
Yeah, I'm not a big Radiohead guy either. I get the talent, I get the unique sound. It's just not for me.
I will say that whoever did this, and again, I don't even know who did it. Somebody just texted it to me. The matchup for the championship was Alice in Chains against Pearl Jam. So good work there.
What about Ugly Kid Joe?
How about this run through the bracket by Nirvana, though? They beat Creed in the first round, Korn in the second round, and STP in the third round to get to the final four, and finally fall to Alice in Chains.
I think it's a bad ranking for STP. They had to beat Nirvana in the Elite Eight.
I saw them Tuesday night, Bill, and the new lead singer, his name's Jeff. I can't remember his last name. Apologies, Jeff. I'm sure you're listening. He is a Scott Weiland clone. He's amazing. Looks and sounds and moves just like him. It was unreal.
Was Bush in this bracket? Because if they're not, that's a bad job by the committee.
That's a good point. I didn't see Bush anywhere in the bracket. Now, they lost to the Chili Peppers in the first round.
That's a bad
an
seed
8-9.
for Bush, but all right. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can't.
Okay.
Yeah, Chili Peppers. All right.
All right. Back to what we were talking about. I really think there is a story that came out this morning that is just another tentacle in a major story that's been playing out for more than a year now. That's going to lead to some major changes in the way we bet on sports. And this is You Better You Bet. Chris Mack in for Nick Kostos. So I think it's worth talking about in just a minute. But I did want to give some quick props to the Charlotte Hornets. They made another deal last night, and I think I'll give them credit for this. At least they're not sitting there waiting to see how things progress. They are pushing buttons. We'll see if they're all the right buttons, but they trade Miles Bridges to Phoenix yesterday. And for Royce Neal and Grayson Allen and some draft picks. And I like what they're doing. I like what they're building in Charlotte. I like the young guys that they have that one of these guys will pan out as the go-to guy, if not multiple guys. Kobe White, Con Knipple, Brandon Miller. You add Naz Reid. I love the Naz Reid edition. If you think I'm wrong, there's been no shortage of people telling me I'm wrong today. By all means, 310-840-4910. 310-840-4910, or jump in the chat on YouTube. But I could see the Hornets being one of those teams that jumps from, okay, we're probably a play-in, to battling for like the 5 and 6 seed in that mushy middle of the Eastern Conference. And I don't think they're going to miss LaMelo as much as some people think they will. I think you've got enough talent on the floor that guys are still going to find open looks. But I like what the Hornets are doing right now. Low-key loving it. As for the major story that progressed this morning, or at least grew another tentacle, Malik Beasley indicted this morning on sports gambling charges by federal prosecutors in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York. This from Mike Vorkunov at The Athletic. Ed Davis, a former lottery pick who spent a dozen years in the NBA, also indicted. Beasley, the fifth current or former NBA player to be indicted by federal prosecutors over the last, year plus. Terry Rozier, Jonte Porter, Damon Jones, all a part of this. Those are just some of the names. Chauncey Billups is caught up in all of this as well. Separate case, but caught up in all of it. And I'm here to tell you, because it's already being foreshadowed by one of the pillars of a proposal put forth by Major League Baseball a week ago. Major League Baseball, in their latest CBA proposal or set of proposals to the Players Association, included a provision that would ban individual player props. Because it's become an issue in baseball as well. It's become an issue everywhere. And I'm here to tell you that within the next, I was going to say 5 years, probably sooner than that, we're looking at a ban on player props by all major professional sports leagues. It's going to happen. You're already unable to get college player props in a lot of states. I know this because I live in one of them in Pennsylvania. Professional player props will take the next hit. It will happen. Because leagues will understand that we got to cut this off. And it maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but within the next couple of years, that's going to happen. That's going to be, for those of you that bet on sports, like we do, that's going to be one of the next shoes to drop. Yes, even on football. I know we haven't had any cases of this come out at the NFL level yet, but don't think for a second that the Brendan Sorsby case won't ripple out into professional football as well. By the way, the CFL told him late on Friday, no, we're not interested in you either. Sorsby, I don't think, had been in touch with any CFL teams, but it's going to happen. And I hate to do this to those of you that love player props, but we're just a couple years away from that. Beasley's been under investigation for over a year. And apparently, according to the prosecutor's allegations, he agreed to take a $100,000 bribe to take himself out early from a March 2023 game while he was with the Hornets. Told a friend he was going to leave the game early, allegedly. And that friend sold the information to a group of bettors who then bet all of the unders on Rozier's props. This is how we end up losing player props. All of these stories coming together, it's another step in that direction. So get them while you can, I guess. Please gamble responsibly. Get them while you can, because I don't think player props are long for this world. Coming up in about a half hour, I want to talk about the expectations for one team that has captured our attention over the last couple of weeks, and that one international football legend thinks is the best version they've ever had of that team. How far can they go, and why shouldn't we have higher expectations for them? That coming up before 11:30 Eastern, 8:30 Pacific. But coming up next, I cannot wait to chop it up, as they say, with one of the legends of ESPN as she rides off into the sunset. Former SportsCenter anchor and ESPN great Linda Cohn joins us next right here on Westwood One Sports. Coming up in 25 minutes, I want to talk about expectations for one team because you've got multiple people talking about how this is the best version of that team ever. So is simply going along for the ride and having fun with it enough, or should we have more concrete expectations of the U.S. men's national team? 3 World Cup matches today in that knockout round of 32. We'll touch on it before we wrap up. It is the final hour, the power hour here on You Better You Bet. Chris Mack in for Nick Kostos today here on Westwood One Sports. But I've been looking forward to this all weekend since I found out she was going to be on with us here today. The great Linda Cohn, ESPN legend, joins us now here on Westwood One Sports. Good morning, Linda. How are you?
Hey, Chris. Good to be with you in the Power Hour. Thank you so much. I love that.
Yes, we only bring the legends on in the Power Hour, Linda.
Yes.
This is reserved for legends like yourself. And you mentioned it right before we jump back on the air. It's been a whirlwind couple of days for you. After more than 5,500 episodes of Sports Center, 34 years at the network, you are hanging it up at ESPN, and it's been a legendary career. I'm sure I've already heard and seen some of the hilarious stories. I got to ask about Norby calling you into the office after the master batter catchphrase, which for those that haven't heard it on the Rich Eisen This Was Sports Center podcast, I'll let you retell the story. But I want to go all the way back to the very beginning. Like growing up a little girl on Long Island, falling in love with sports. Just when did I don't want to say the light bulb go off, but when did it click in your head that like sports was life, for lack of a better way to put it?
Yeah. I love going back in time and talking about this because it was the way that I never would have had what I had or worked so hard to get to what I was and still is if it wasn't for my upbringing with my dad and my mom, of course. But my dad was such a big, typical stereotype New York sports fan. I learned the F word early on. In my life, but I was a kid with low self-esteem. I had really thick glasses, not like these glasses, but really thick glasses when I was growing up. So I had the low self-esteem. I needed something to look forward to, right? I didn't have a lot of friends. So I fell in love with two things. I fell in love with sports and I fell in love with, music, pop music, things that I could relate to. Usually depressing songs, loneliness, breakup songs, not the happy songs.
A lot of Karen Carpenter back in the day.
Yeah, like Carpenter, like old Bee Gees, I started a joke. Look that one up for your young listeners. Alone Again Naturally, Gilbert O'Sullivan, like this. But the sports gave me something to look forward to, not only watching it with my dad. We had season tickets for the Rangers for a couple of years back in the 70s. And, a lot of it wasn't great, but the bonding with my dad that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to sit and just watch my teams, the Knicks, the Rangers, the Giants. And of course, see, I almost forget about the Mets for obvious reasons. I still love them, but you can understand. That was a big part of it. And so I just used it. And then I started playing, I started playing tennis, but then I fell in love with playing street hockey with the boys. And then I realized I was really good at it. I got contact lenses and I was a really good goalie. And then my mom, she was so amazing. She just found this league this was back in the mid 70s, people, like 76, that let girls play, I was 14 or something, let girls play with boys, but I had to play with 8-year-old boys. And the reason why I bring this all up is because that's when I started hearing the whispers and from moms and other people saying, is that a girl on my son's team? What? And it wasn't complimentary. Okay.
Yeah.
So I really learned how to block the noise early in my life because of hockey and playing with boys and believing in myself that I could be good at this and do the job. And then it really went on from there. It was that same mission statement in my brain. I'm not gonna lie and say I didn't have moments where I was crying in my bedroom or crying in a ladies' room or just really like sad about, oh, I can't believe that person said that. But boy, that made me stronger and my skin got thicker and thicker and thicker. And I just realized, you know what? I don't want to work for a living. I want to talk sports for a living. And, I'm sure that's something you can relate to, Chris. You don't want to work for a living. You want to do something that you're really passionate about. and it worked out, but it only worked out because I made my own breaks, because back then no one was giving any woman anything on a silver platter.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to bring up is, there weren't any female role models really in
Right.
sports casting when you were in high school and went off to college. So like you said, I remember the moment where the switch went off in my head. Hey, I'm 5'9" on a good day, 150 pounds soaking wet. I had a ninth grade teacher who encouraged all of us to just visualize what our future was going to be. And I
Nice.
decided that mine was going to be, hey, my dream job was what you did for years, Sports Center anchor.
Yeah.
And I ended up pivoting away from that in college to just radio in general. But I got to live out some of those dreams because someone gave me the ability to visualize it. What led to that visualization in your head where you went, okay, there might not be the closest thing to this might be Phyllis George on the NFL Today, right?
Yeah,
And they give her a
right.
couple of minutes on the desk with Brent Musburger and Irv Cross. But like, I can do it. I can be the one to blaze that trail.
Couple of stories, and it was very cool. My one and only Kentucky Derby, I went as a fan. I met Phyllis, and she couldn't have been sweeter and nicer, knew who I was. I couldn't stop sending her flowers verbally about just her presence and what she meant. But of course, she was a former Miss America. It was a little different back in the day for her, and we shared some stories. But I had some great mentors, all male. Ed Ingles, who was the sports director of WCBS AM all News Radio in New York City. He hired me back in the mid 80s, to do sports updates on the radio. This was before sports talk radio, people. This was before all these great sports talk stations like WFAN and all these stations across the country. And that's when people heard, a woman giving them their scores. I worked at many different places, a place called Sports Phone, which was your listeners and your viewers will crack up, because this was a place where you're just giving scores for 45-second sound bites, and you go in this little phone booth in this building, like a row of phone booths. You literally pick up the phone and you're reading the ticker tape or whatever the hell it is that from the, like the scores. And this was like when, this is funny for your channel, because this is in New York City, by the way. So betting was huge back in the day, under wraps. And Sports Phone provided that. So I was helping out bettors, back in the day in the 80s, which is so fun. So all these kind of things. And there were just Shelby Whitfield, president of ABC Radio Sports, gave me a shot. Radio, and I tell people like you all the time, and I'm sure you agree because this is what you do for a living. If it wasn't for my background in radio, before I even ventured out in TV, I didn't even know I was going to get a break in TV, but I made my own break there, getting a big job in Seattle at a CBS affiliate, because I figured, what the heck? And my relatives were like, oh, this radio stuff's great, but when are you going to be on TV? Really? Those were the conversations.
Yeah.
But the radio, the background on radio really helped me be a better TV person, TV journalist, TV personality, and really made me a better Sports Center anchor and a reporter, because I could just think on my feet, and I had to think on my feet. There was no script, no prompter, and I don't have to tell you, growing up with Sports Center and wanting to be a Sports Center anchor, doing shows, everything just coming at you. You don't see anything in advance type of thing, and you had to react. And if it wasn't for my radio background, that was another reason for my success on TV.
The great Linda Cohn with us here on Westwood One Sports, talking about her career. And at ESPN, you get there in the early 90s. And this is as ESPN and Sports Center in particular are just a rocket ship, right? It's Dan and Keith on the 11 p.m. Eastern Sports Center. And then you have the younger generation starting to filter in with Stuart Scott and Rich Eisen. And everybody is starting to hook into, okay, these guys are not just reading the scores like you were doing for Sports Phone. Like, you've got to have a personality while you do so. And the story that I referenced earlier that I heard you tell on Rich Eisen's podcast is hilarious about, like, hey, I got a chance to come up with like one of those signature catchphrases that everybody latches onto. And if you want to relate that story again, because it's absolutely hilarious, that the idea made it on the air, but then that Norby Williamson, who was your boss at the time, called you into the principal's office and was like, come on, Linda.
Yeah, Chris. So everybody knows they grew up with Sports Center. Everyone, all the anchors, the existing anchors before me, the ones that were coming in, everyone had catchphrases. For me, my claim to fame, I feel, was how I connected to fans, and I just like thought of something on the spot. I didn't want something choreographed. It was great for them, but I didn't want to be like, okay, when is she going to say this? Type of thing. I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to like react to the visual, react to the video, and be organic and genuine. So I never really thought of a catchphrase, but then I felt the pressure of like, oh, Linda Cohn doesn't have a catchphrase. I'm like, okay. So then, I'm like one of my friends who lived in North Carolina. I'm still keep in touch with her. Her name's Susie. We were just talking, and she was telling me she was on this softball team called the Master Batters. And I'm like, oh wow, that's so funny. And how you have to like pause a second to like get
Yeah.
it, realize, that's what I was. I was like, Master Bet. Oh wow.
Oh, I
So
got
then
it
I
now.
thought, yeah. So then I thought, when my favorite Mike Piazza was up at bat, or Barry Bonds, and they were just ready to be right before they hit a home run in the video that you're about to see, that I'm about to share. I would say Mike Piazza, Master Batter. And there goes the home run ball, right? And my co-anchor was laughing. Everybody was laughing. Rich, they're all laughing. And then I got the call from my boss, Norby Williamson. He's a great guy, and he would just say, you know, Linda, don't ever do that again. Come on. Come on.
But
Yeah.
but in
So
the
it was
late
great.
'90s, that was tame compared to some of the stuff that was on
Oh, I
TV, right?
know.
Like
Of course.
compared
I
to
thought,
Springer and the WWE and
yes,
everything else, Master
yes.
Batter is
I mean,
tame.
I thought it was I thought it was so
Yeah,
subtle. Keith got away with so much crap too, Keith Olbermann,
yeah,
but again, different rules for different folks. Maybe they didn't want a woman saying that word or even having fun. But I proved them wrong. I got some other stuff
yeah,
in there later. But yeah, that was the pressure of having a catchphrase. Later on I would say for the love of elevation, when someone went up for a ball or a tip or whatever, and one of the celebration shows I was able to say it with the OG Ananobi tip, which was like my
yeah.
dream to do that. But and then one of just my favorite things that I always say, I'm probably going to do a segment on my show coming out next month of like nobody panic. I always say that for anything, something's happening. Nobody
Yeah.
panic.
Linda Cohn with us here on Westwood One Sports. Just describe the environment, the atmosphere around Bristol back in like that same time frame, right? Like the late '90s. Sports Center becomes a part of the pop culture experience on a daily basis, and you're a part of that. Just did you guys realize in the moment that you were a part of something that was, like I said, you kind of set the table every night for the next at least 12 to 24 hours of sports fan
Yeah.
conversation. We didn't have the same viral moments that we have now with social media. And it became all about, okay, what are Keith and Dan going to say? What are Linda and Rich going to say? Is Stu going to have a new catchphrase tonight? Because he
Right.
seemingly had a new one that he pulled out of his back pocket every week.
I
Did you guys
know.
realize at the time, like I referenced the rocket ship, did you reference just how pervasive you were in pop culture at that time?
Yeah, Chris, we were just all having fun. It was one big community. It felt like we were back in college on a campus. But we knew we were the only game in town during that golden era. So we were aware of that. And I know I use that as my adrenaline rush. Oh, every time that I was on the air after a big game ended or something, it was magical because we knew not only the fans, the viewers, the casuals were watching, we knew the athletes were watching. We knew the TV was on in their locker room or their dressing room. And that really fired me up to know that these professional athletes that I grew up loving or, just admire for what they're doing at that moment, that they were watching me, do the highlight. And that's why I was always athlete friendly because, I mean, in my small way, I was an athlete playing college hockey and, blah, blah, blah. But I get it. I get it. And it was so cool. So we all knew we were the only game in town. I think the game changer where we were allowed, and I've said this before, but it's the truth. I mean, where we were even exploded even more the Sports Center brand was when our bosses decided to spend some money and hire a real advertising agency and come up with this campaign. This is Sports Center. And that was all those commercials you saw. And that brought out our personalities. They were so well written because it was a professional agency. You know, we were allowed to ad lib a little. We felt like we were on movie sets all day. We didn't get paid extra. The athletes we brought in, I'm sure maybe you've known this or read about it, you know, they were paid like compensation, but they had to go to their charity. And first the bosses thought, oh, these guys probably were not going to do that. And then of course they did it. They wanted to be in these commercials. So that translated into the actual shows, and people wanted to tune in even more, even when there was other competition later on, whether it was like, you know, CNN, I think, had a sports show. I mean, Dan Patrick came from CNN before he got to ESPN. You know, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the legendary great Robin Roberts, the only woman really that I had a chance to meet early on and talk with and give me, when I had those moments, as I mentioned, about when it all didn't go great, or I was a little bit, oh, you know, I didn't win this person over or this person, or I remember the negativity, even though it was mostly positive for me. I said, Robin, how do you handle this? And she said to me, you make believe you're the best in the room all the time. And because you have to believe that. And I did. And she always believed that she was the best at ESPN. That's how she dealt with any kind of negativity. She passed that message on to me, and I just ran with it. But we all knew what we were. And then, you know, we always tried to up our game. But those commercials were game changers.
What was your favorite one that you remember?
Oh, I don't know. I was talking to Kevin Nagandi on the 6 p.m. Eastern Sports Center on Friday. We did the top six of my moments on Sports Center. It was really tough. I kind of piled one into one of these and all the commercials. And, you know, I there was so many great ones. I wish I was in more, but, you know, the bosses had their favorites. So whatever. I really appreciated when I was on. But I just love the ones I did with Mike Richter, one of my favorite Ranger goalies, and then Henrik Lundqvist and the Swedish Chef of the Muppets. You know, I mean, to be on in commercials with those two, and also shout out to Damian Lillard, because when the retirement thing was announced and I was on Friday, he like shared our commercial together. Love him. So those were fun ones. I know there were more, but they were also great. It was just so much fun.
I want to bring up, because I meant to mention them earlier when I talked about some of the greats when SportsCenter first launched, and then Bill, our producer, just brought it up in our side chat here. Charlie Steiner was just an absolute legend, and the "Follow Me to Freedom," the Y2K, This is SportsCenter commercial. I think, you know, I don't know if there are any other people that I think maybe get. For the average sports fan who maybe didn't grow up watching SportsCenter, the younger sports fan, there are legends like Charlie who were just as important to what's the brand that SportsCenter was building, the environment, the fraternal environment that you mentioned earlier. Who are some of the other legends? You mentioned Robin, that you feel like really helped build that sense of, I guess, community around ESPN.
Yeah, no, Charles, you know what was great? Everyone had their own personality. You had Bob Lee, the newsman. You know, he was like our Walter Cronkite. All the serious stories, bring in Bob. You know, Charlie was great. You know, they're legends on the 6 p.m. Eastern Sports Center. To me, like, people always ask me who made, you know, my cackle. I laugh a lot because I just, you know, I'm trying to stay in the moment and love what I do. But, you know, Kenny Mayne to me, when I did those late night shows with Kenny, he was like, he's a comedian to me, and his subtle look. He didn't have to say anything, and I would crack up. And in one of the tribute messages Kenny gave on one of the shows, I think it was the 11 or 10 Eastern on Friday. You know, he said, he goes, yeah, you always kept us here late, 4 a.m., you know, with your cackle because you didn't get through the goodbye. It's because he was staring at me with his weird face without saying a word. And my peripheral vision just saw it. But, you know, there's so many. Anybody, you know, we live in an age, all you have to do is just Google old golden era anchors. There are just so many. The Larry Beals, you know, Chris Myers was my first. Love
Yeah.
Chris unconditionally and endlessly. But the one that is sadly forgotten because he died in a tragic accident trying to save his children in a pool, Tom Mees.
Yeah.
Tom Mees was he was a big hockey fan. He was a big Flyers fan. We always would go at it, Rangers, Flyers, Rangers, Flyers. I learned a lot in a short period of time from Tom Mees. We did a lot of Saturday, 2 a.m. Eastern, Friday, 2 a.m. Eastern sports centers when they were a half hour. He was amazing to me because he was so animated and he just really like threw himself into a highlight. And I tried to, that's really how I molded my highlight reads with Tom because Tom, he was a fan and he just
Yeah.
wanted to talk and connect to the viewer. So, yeah, I would say for anyone, please Google and learn about Tom Mees because he was one of my true favorites from way back in the day.
No, I'm glad you brought him up. That's a great point. As you've mentioned, Robin Roberts helped you along the way, and you've grown into legendary status at ESPN, especially amongst female anchors. Are there women that have come to you and looked for that same advice? And how fulfilling, I guess, has it been to be able to share and pay it forward, I guess, so to speak?
Right. Yeah, I've been trying to do that for decades because I was doing it for so long. But there's a lot of that, and I embrace it and welcome it and love it. And especially even more so in the past 36 hours, 72 hours since the announcement. I mean, I've had young women reach out to me saying if they weren't, waiting for the school bus and watching the Sports Center re-airs and seeing me behind the Sports Center desk, they never would be in sports right now, ever. They never would have thought about it. And these things really resonate with me and really kind of make me cry in a happy way. And they have reached out and just, examples of current Sports Center female anchors. It was just wonderful that Nicole Briscoe and Madeline Burke, those two co-hosted a couple of the tribute shows that I did on Friday on ESPN Sports Center. And it meant so much to hear their words, live and in person. But that's what I'm going to continue to do. It means a lot to me. And then I've had guys, again, like even my John Butchergross went on the air one of these things and he said, Linda, it is great that you've empowered and inspired these women, but you showed a lot of us guys that women could do this and do it not only equally, but better. So that is something I'm also proud of professionally.
Bucci's a gem. I love that guy.
He is.
It's speaking of, you mentioned Bucci. You might as well just his name's synonymous with hockey. I cannot let you go today, Linda Cohn, without talking about the Rangers' big move over the weekend. Pavel Dorofeyev from the Golden Knights. It feels like things may be moving in the right direction for your Blue Shirts.
I don't know. It's a desperate time. It's a desperate time. And I'm talking about Chris Drury and his job as GM. He had to do something. Here's my concern. The guy, they brought him over, traded for him, just gave up a couple draft picks, but they had to sign him to this long-term 8-year, 11 million plus annual deal. So that's a raise of 3 million a year for Pavel Dorofeyev of Vegas, who was outstanding in the postseason, as you know, Chris. In finals, he kind of disappeared, but that credit to Carolina, the Stanley Cup champs, for doing that. The only thing I'm concerned about, I got to see it to believe it. Obviously, so much more talent on Vegas than currently on the New York Rangers. So, the guys that passed Pavel Dorofeyev the puck are not on the Rangers, last I look. The Mitch Marners, the Jack Eichels, these kind of players. Right. So, okay, jury's still out, but I'm glad, jury got off the couch and did something. I am excited about the Latvian defenseman, Schmitz, I think his name is, that they picked 5th overall in the first round. Because first of all, I found out through my friend Scott Lachlan on SiriusXM NHL Network Radio that he's a Swiftie like me, and I've been dipped since 2010. But he has experience. He probably can make the team in the first year because he played in the Olympics for Latvia and World Championships. So there's that. So we'll see, Ranger fans.
There's better vibes than there were a few months ago, I think, right?
Anything, Chris, would be better vibes than a few months ago. But I don't know. It's just, it used to be, it's interesting in sports, and you can relate to this, and you've talked about it, I'm sure, with all sports, especially in the NBA, NFL, NHL. I think, in MLB, they make so much money, they'll go to the moon, and pocket 60, 70 million or whatever they have, 100, I don't even know, 325 million, whatever they do with their, that's ridiculous. But anyway, let's talk about the three major sports because I feel hockey is taking over MLB right now. But the thing is like New York used to be a destination. People wanted to play in New York, right? Not anymore. They want to go to Florida. They want to go to, where there's no state taxes and all this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting. So, in defense of Chris Drury, I don't think a lot of people want to play for the Rangers anymore. I mean, just because of how much money they take from them. That's why Vegas is so great. It's one of the reasons why the Golden Knights, have excelled because these guys want to go to Vegas. As Jack Eichel said, I'm a big Jack Eichel fan. He's right. When Vegas was like the most hated team, blah, 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 which is such
Mm-hmm.
BS, that everyone's jealous. But, I think players in every sport, and we're seeing that in the NBA as well, to a point, that they want to go where they can live happily ever after and enjoy their money as well.
That's a good point. Linda Cohn with us here on Westwood One Sports. Before I let you run, Linda, and thanks so much for taking all this time with us here this morning. I know you mentioned earlier a project that you're working on. What do you have cooking so that we still get our daily dose of Linda Cohn?
Yes, and you will get your daily dose of Linda Cohn because I have a lot to say. So, I currently started a YouTube channel at Linda Cohn Sports, all one word.
Awesome.
But in a few weeks, stay tuned. Please subscribe. You know how that goes, Chris. Costs
Mm-hmm.
nothing to subscribe. Just click on the little thumbs up thing, the like button. And then in a few weeks, it's going to make a transformation to the Linda Cohn Show, where it's going to be a daily show where you're going to connect with me. I want to connect with the fans. We're going to have guests. I'm going to have a stage, freedom to have fun and talk all sports and talk about whatever that's on my mind. Whatever it is, like you can trigger something right now with me and I'll go on a rant.
I can't wait to check it out. Linda Cohn Sports on YouTube, The Linda Cohn Show. In the coming weeks, congratulations on what has been an incredible career at ESPN, Linda. Thank you so much again for taking the time this morning. And even though I'm a Penguins fan, you know this about me, I still have a little bit of a soft spot for Sully. So here's to the Rangers getting back on track a little bit.
Okay, you just said the magic word. I love Sid. So you might love Sully. I love Sid. He's my fave. I want him on my show. He is the greatest human ever. So he's on my. I'm going to try to make that happen. But I love the Penguin. I love it. And Sully better figure out a magic formula for this Ranger team.
Good luck with everything, Linda. Thanks again so much for the time. And I'll look forward to the show coming out in the coming weeks and catching up again sometime soon.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me, Chris. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. Linda Cohn, Sports Center and ESPN, great women's sports anchor, legend. She did it fantastically well for so many years, decades. And I can't wait to check out the new show and see what that's all about. Linda Cohn Sports on YouTube. Find the handle and get ready for the Linda Cohn Show. Coming up next here on Westwood One Sports, another international soccer legend says this is the best version of this U.S. men's national team we've ever seen. So why aren't our expectations maybe the highest they've ever been? Is it just fun to be along for the ride, or should we actually expect more out of this squad? That's coming up next here on Westwood One Sports.
NFL training camp.
Welcome back to You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Chris Mack in for Nick Kostos today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday here on You Better You Bet. Nick getting some much-deserved time off. Carrington Harrison will be in here on Wednesday. Thanks again to Linda Cohn for letting me talk to her as long as I did. Just an absolute legend. It is You Better You Bet here on Westwood One Sports, presented by BetMGM. And coming up before we wrap up the show, your 3 stars of the day. Plus, I got a couple looks at some baseball bets. The player props that undoubtedly will fall by the wayside and become illegal at some point in the next few years. Oof. That coming up in, I don't know, about 10 minutes or so here on Westwood One Sports. Jurgen Klopp, legendary international soccer coach, was on ESPN FC the other day. And this is yet another international soccer legend opining about how good this U.S. men's national team is. And this is no different than when we had Eric Winalda on a couple weeks ago, and he said, yeah, this team could go to the semis. And I think my eyes kind of popped out of my head when he said that, because we're just not used to having these expectations for the U.S. men's national team. But this is Jurgen Klopp on ESPN FC the other day talking about just how good this U.S. men's national team is.
It is the best team USA ever.
Oh, we got some echo on it there. That's okay. I can just relate to you what he said. He said it's the best U.S. men's national team ever. Ever. Because of the talent they have and the players they have all over the field who have played at the highest levels in Europe. Now, Pulisic is at the top of that list, but you've got other guys as well. And here's why I think we need to push past just the simple embracing of soccer that we've had in the United States over the last couple of weeks as average sports fans. And instead, we should start to build some expectations for this team. All right, we'll try it one more time. Let you hear what Jurgen Klopp said exactly. Or not. It's okay. It's all right. The point I want to make here is that if this is one of the best managers in international football telling you this is the best ever version of this team, why shouldn't our expectations be higher than they've ever been before? So the round of 32 match Wednesday against Bosnia, they're expected to win. Would obviously be a massive disappointment if they went out in the first knockout round. And then the round of 16, it'll be Belgium or Senegal. And they may not be as heavy a favorite, but I think we'll still expect them to win. And that will get them onto the quarterfinals. And in the quarterfinals, there's a good chance that it's Spain or Portugal as the possible matchup. Those are true heavyweights in international soccer. And a lot of people are going to look at it. I've already heard people say this. Well, you can't expect them to beat Spain or Portugal. And my response to that at this point would be, why not? If we have people saying this is the best U.S. men's national team ever, why shouldn't we expect the best result ever, even if it means you have to go through a heavyweight to do so? So look, I'm not going to call the World Cup a failure for the U.S. men's national team if they don't get to the semis. No. It doesn't have to be an absolute binary either-or proposition. Either you get to the semis or it's a failure. No, it doesn't have to be that, but there should be some expectation that the U.S. men's national team, if it really is the best version of this team they've ever had, can take that next step and go from, hey, soccer's fun every 4 years, isn't it? To, hey, we got a chance to really make some noise and maybe win something. And going to the semifinals would be that for the U.S. men's national team in this World Cup. So why shouldn't we raise our expectations? Maybe I'm getting ahead of things here. Maybe it feels too early to start talking about that because you still got to win 2 more matches before you get to that point. But I would assert that if this is the best team ever, at a certain point in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have to turn the page from, hey, soccer's fun, to, hey, we actually have expectations for you. Even as average everyday sports fans who might only watch soccer once every 4 years, we have expectations. And we have some of the best soccer minds in the world saying this is the best version of the team you've ever had. Then you need to play like it. Very curious to see how it goes down Wednesday against Bosnia, but then beyond that, obviously, more importantly, just how deep can they go? Why shouldn't we expect them to, at the very least, push Spain or Portugal if they get to that point in the quarterfinals, if not beat them? That would be the U.S., that would be American soccer really, truly stepping on to the stage with the big boys, with the heavyweights, to pull that off. Coming up, I got some bets, as I mentioned, for one baseball game in particular tonight that I really like on either side of that game. Plus, we'll get you our 3 favorite moments of the day, our 3 stars to wrap things up next here on You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports.
Welcome back to You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
I mentioned we've got 3 round of 32 knockout round matchups today in the World Cup. About an hour and 15 minutes from the kickoff of Brazil and Japan. 4:30 Eastern, you got Germany, Paraguay, and 9 Eastern, you got Netherlands, Morocco. It's the summer of soccer, my friends. Jump on in. Even if you're like me and you're not locked into soccer all the time, it's still fun. I mean, Europeans are discovering the joy of things like Buc-ee's and Ella Langley. Please, welcome on in. We're about to celebrate 250 years. Let's have a time. Let's do it with soccer. Sure, why not? It is time for the world's top stars to go head-to-head on the pitch. So you can grab an odds boost token today inside your BetMGM app and join the excitement. Make your World's Game moment. Activate your token for any World's Game bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. All you got to do, download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. 3 stars of the day on the way in just a moment. I can guarantee Linda Cohn will be in there somewhere for taking an extended period of time today to talk to us. May have some wild NBA rumors in there as well. We may have to talk some Yankees fans off the ledge. I do have a bet for today. Pirates visit the Phillies in Philadelphia, and the Pirates send their best starting pitcher to the mound. No, not Paul Skeens. Braxton Ashcraft has been their best starter so far this year, and he's going in Philly tonight against the Phils lineup that is just mashing lately. Ashcraft, for what it's worth, 17 strikeouts in his last 2 starts over 12 innings. So with a K-prop lined at 5.5, the over is a good look, in my opinion. Plus, you got Kyle Schwarber, who just hit home run number 30 yesterday, on pace for 60, and who homered twice in Ashcraft's last start against the Phils. 14-1 at BetMGM today to hit not 1 but 2 home runs. That's not one you put a lot on. That's one you put just a little Salt Bay sprinkle on. But I like both of those. Or you can just go with the standard Schwarber to homer prop, too. It's all waiting for you inside the BetMGM app. Our 3 favorite moments of the day. It's time to get you our 3 stars. Let go.
3.
Line to right, nobody home. The Red Sox somehow find a way against the Yankees.
Jason Benetti on NBC and Peacock last night. Jaron Duran's walk-off single in the 10th. The Yankees 12-12 since the Aaron Judge injury. They've dropped to 19th in runs and 22nd in OPS during the month of June. They were 4th in runs and 2nd in OPS through May. A 4-game sweep at Fenway. Yankee fans, despite all of this, losing 7 of your last 9, falling behind the Rays in the AL East standings, I'm here to tell you, relax. Remain calm. All is well. The AL stinks, and you're still going to go to the playoffs, and you're still going to have to go through the Rays at some point, whether you win the division or they do. So I know you want to go through your annual summer freakout, Yankees fans, but it's going to be okay. Number 2.
I'm going to set a screen for you. He made the play. I reacted, whatever. The second one, Batum, he hesitated for half a second.
Yep.
And I got him in there.
Quick pump, yep.
And then the third one, that was great basketball.
Steph Curry and LeBron reminiscing about the 2024 gold medal game against France on Steve Nash's Mind the Game podcast. That was last year, but you could tell, like, these two, they would love to play together. So let's do it. Let's get LeBron and AD, who the Warriors are rumored to be trying to work out a deal with Washington for, so they can then lure LeBron in. Draymond opting out this morning so they can work out a different deal and create some more cap space. They're going to do it. They're going to put those 4 together in Golden State. The Bay Area Unks coming to an NBA arena near you this fall and winter. And I'm here for it. I'm here for the nostalgia. I'm here for the babyface vibes. I'm here for all of it. Make it happen. Let's do it. Finally, your number one star of the day.
One.
So I never really thought of a catchphrase, but then I felt the pressure of like, oh, Linda Cohn doesn't have a catchphrase. I'm like, okay. Yeah, so then I thought, when my favorite Mike Piazza was up at bat, or Barry Bonds, and they were just ready to be right before they hit a home run in the video that you're about to see, I would say Mike Piazza, master batter.
That could have gone down as the greatest SportsCenter catchphrase of all time had Linda Cohn not been called to the principal's office for master batter. I'm sorry. In the late 90s, when seemingly anything was going on TV and in music and in movies and in pop culture, the master batter catchphrase would have taken off. Just an awesome time chatting with Linda Cohn earlier. It'll be up wherever you get your podcasts. Just search You Better You Bet. Linda hanging up the ESPN teleprompter anyway after decades at ESPN and over 5,500 episodes of SportsCenter and 34 years of the network. We appreciate her taking time to chat earlier today. Keep an eye out for the Linda Cohn Show to be coming to YouTube in the coming weeks. Linda Cohn Sports is the handle on YouTube if you want to go search for it and then subscribe so you get notified when those shows start to get released. I can't wait to see it, especially with Linda being a huge hockey fan. Doesn't sound as excited about what the Rangers did over the weekend, acquiring Pavel Dorofeyev from the Golden Knights as maybe other people are, but I can't wait to see what she's got cooked up for that. As mentioned, Chris Mack in for Nick Kostos. I'll be back tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday as well. Carrington Harrison in on Wednesday, but we got you all week locked in here on Westwood One Sports to all the World Cup action. Plenty of MLB, the NBA offseason really just starting to take off. You know where to keep it locked in. Thanks to Laura, Kenny, Mike, Tyler, and Bill for keeping everything on the rails today. And Bleck and Abdallah are up next, so keep it right here on Westwood One Sports.